Welcome everyone to this Imperial Podcast. Today we have a special guest which is X Calebs, the Emperor of Holy Roman Empire and one of the founders of Ball Table Studio. Hello Caleb, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm also good. Nice to hear that everything is fine. So I'm gonna ask you a few questions that I prepared
Mhm.
today. Some of them are asked by the great community of HRE, and some of them are made by me. So let's start with the first question, which is, why did you decided to buy HRE from Viking Love?
Well, it wasn't a singular choice, and we had multiple in front of us when we were looking about a year ago, June. We were looking to expand art into different genres and different communities, and we looked at, I think, 20 different alternative groups, and then we found HRE because I was chatting with Viking Law, well, a close friend of his, and I brought up floated the idea if he'd be interested in it. So we got talking, and then eventually he along the lines of was considering it but wasn't sure. So we bantered about what would be a fair deal if we were to do it. And well, a week or two later, we had a deal formulated and signed off on it.
Okay. Well, what is your current opinion on HRE and KOF? What's your opinion about the state of those both groups?
I mean, I personally like HRE and I like KOF as well. I bought the groups, so I wouldn't have bought them if I didn't like them. But I like the community of HRE, even though it's semi-mutual back. I've held I've made a lot of promises which unfortunately haven't been able to be kept yet, but I'm working towards keeping them. HRE community, despite the development issues, other than that, I really do like it. I've had a lot of fun in it. I did go inactive for a while, but apart from that, I've had no issues with it. And KOF, I think, was a great addition to it to create a more formalized rating group to help improve on activity and give a little more purpose to HRE in general.
Don't you think that KOF was too much active on the start and that it made HRE less active?
No, I don't think it was. I think it was active at the start because of the hype, but I don't think it really killed off HRE at all. I think it just moved members around and gave people an alternative choice, and then once they were settled down and decided what they really wanted to do, it gave them two different paths to go down.
Okay. So, another question. You announced Game Overhaul 4 months ago, and nothing from the Game Overhaul was released yet. Why is it taking so long?
Well, when we announced the game overhaul, we had just started on the new UIs for it, and the development at the time, I had at least a solid core of people who was beginning to work on it, and then the UIs took 30 days or so because there were so many we had to redo and remake. And by the time they were all finished up, the program I had gone inactive, so I was out a programmer. And then I was out a ton of builders because all my builders I had hired had left. And then I believe that happened, and then April came along, and I was gone on vacation, which hindered my activity. And then after that, I've been slowly recollecting devs. We hired XK, well, Ken hired him, and he's been doing a tremendous amount of work on the group since that point. We found a more stable dev team recently, so we're hoping that will allow us to finally get some of the phases out more of in a bulkier way rather than in different, sort of like combining the phases to get it finished. But it really is far out of my control, except on the fact that I kind of depend on the developers to keep to a schedule. I have to keep cycling through till I find them, or devs who will.
Okay, then. Can you tell us when the Phase 1 will be released, or you don't really know?
Unfortunately, not yet. When I
Okay,
have more information, the community will be the first to know.
okay. So let's move to the another question, which is, Do you plan on attending more of the popular events, such as the Crown Wall? I think that would make the community more active because they would like to meet you, you know.
No, I agree. At the beginning, I did attend several Crown War events and inspections. I slowly faded off, and which is my fault, and I accept the responsibility for that. Just the times changing and different circumstances create created large pauses in my activity. However, I'm hoping to slowly rebuild that again. I've been recently trying to aim for at least 30 minutes a day on HRE, in game or in an inspection or in the Crown Wars. So I'm hoping that'll slowly allow me to rebuild and get to meet more people in HRE.
Yeah, you're really active now, like much more than before, and that's nice. Everyone was waiting for it. Okay, so another question asked by a person that I can't pronounce his name. Are you going to be in the game and talk with people on chat more?
Uh, when I play HRE, I tend to try and spend a little bit of time engaging in conversation with people. Sometimes though when I join, I'm like in the middle of like doing like a development conversation or looking for developers and whatnot. So I'll just join to be in game, and then once I find a minute or a break, I go in and converse with people. Unfortunately, my position as running multiple groups requires a lot of time and effort. So I'm trying to make an effort, but at the same time, it's depends on scheduling and whatnot. But I hope when I'm in game more, I can talk with people without being like murdered.
Yeah. Probably it's really hard to manage so many games at the same time.
It's not so much hard, it's just time consuming. And when everyone wants to have their owner, the emperor, etc., in game, it creates a very big tear on your schedule, amongst many other things you still have to worry about.
Yeah. Okay. Another question asked by medieval Swedish, which is, will other countries be added? Like you added the Kingdom of France, but are you planning on adding other countries in the future?
Well, I had floated the idea with my business partner about further countries, but I don't think, even if we got the Holy Roman Empire into a better state and we got the Kingdom of France at a much better position, I don't really think it'd be necessary to create more countries because the activity from the Kingdom in France and the Holy Roman Empire really having those clashes should be more than enough. I mean, if it comes popular demand that a third or fourth country should be added, then we could float the idea then, but I don't think as of right now we have any plans or expectations to do so.
What about the new duchies in HRE? Are you planning on making some new duchies?
Well, that is something that when we first bought the group we considered, but just because of its position, we tossed the idea pretty fast. We would be open and considered to doing more duchies, but I think right now the current ones we have, we need to get into much better state of activity, and there needs to be much more larger demand than there can be provided for duchies before we consider putting more in. Because as of right now, the demand's not high enough to have more duchies.
Yeah, that's true. The activity of current duchies is not the best, so a new duchy shouldn't be added yet. So, another question, a lot of people asked it, and it's, what was the reason of your inactivity in HRE?
It was a combination of several factors. Just because I am running other projects, I still have to spend time on them as well. And just in life, real life circumstances and all the rest of it, just a big bowl of factors which caused my inactivity for a length of time. I still was working on HRE in the background during my inactivity period. I just wasn't conversing or engaging in the community during that time frame.
Okay. Well, as we know, you have a lot of groups, so
Hmm.
which of them is your favorite?
Um, Current or just in general from throughout the years I've had?
Just in general.
Um, I'd have to probably say I'm not sure. I like all my groups. I wouldn't purchase or own any of the projects if I didn't like any of them, but My current favorite would probably be Liberty Airlines. I put a lot of effort into that, and it was one of my major comeback successes.
Yeah, it's really well done. Like I saw that game and it was really good made. Out of
Mm.
buildings were high quality and the scripts. It was just
Yeah,
a good game.
mhm,
I hope that HRE will be as good as Liberty Airlines in the future.
hopefully.
Yeah. Well, another question. What do you do as Emperor? What are your tasks?
Well, my tasks kind of vary. I try to stay uninvolved as much as I can in the group politics of things and leave that to HighCom because while I'm still the owner, HighCom's been running the group and they really put the most amount of effort into in terms of keeping everything on a steady course and maintaining promotions and all the rest of it. So I try to stay out of that aspect of things. I focus more on just community engagement is a major thing I need to improve on focusing in. Marketing the game and running advertisements, which recently haven't been as effective over the past few months, hence why we've not run any. Um, Managing the development team and whatnot, and just minor things, nothing significant, because I like to keep that on the group in-house stuff, because if I got involved in everything that the Holy Roman Empire did, then it'd just be too much micromanaging. And I trust the High that we have currently to make mature decisions on behalf of the group.
Well, not a lot of people are uh, pleased with the things that staff is doing right now. Some of them might think that this current stuff is corrupt or something. What do you think about those accusations?
Well, I tend to engage with HighCom as much as I can, and I do read most of the chats. I've not seen anything in HighCom that would indicate it's corrupt, and throughout the knighthood as well. Everyone seems to be pretty fair, and I've talked to a lot of people in knighthood, and I've never had an issue with any of them. Some have had opinions, which everyone is entitled to that, but apart from that, I've not. Corruption ice in HRE is very minimal, and when it does happen, HighCom's pretty quick to snuff it out before it really can impact the group.
Yeah, true. Most of the people that are corrupt are getting hired really fast. I mean, fired. Uh, okay, so another question. Will there be a Game Pass sale in the near future, like on the Black Friday or Christmas?
With the new update and whatnot, I plan to create some sort of a schedule, like for holidays and whatnot, to incorporate more Game Pass sales and whatnot to allow people to acquire some of them. I've not nothing specific right now, but when I have more information, I'll release it.
Okay. Um, what is your opinion on Skepta trying to cope you?
It was an interesting experience. I wasn't too concerned when I found out about it because pooing somebody as a staff member isn't necessarily effective because when you're trying to bargain a position with an owner of a group, it's relatively hard to gain the leverage necessary to make a coup successful. And it was just out of the spite when I had first bought the group and whatnot. It wasn't anything serious, and I moved on from it. Skeptor and everyone else moved on from it. It wasn't something significant or otherwise like serious consequences would have happened because it never flourished any further than a concept.
Yeah. Well, a lot of people just doing. A lot of people make jokes out of Skepta that he tried to coop you. But yeah, another question. Why did it take you so long to release ads?
Well, when you're running ads, a lot of behind the scenes work goes into calculating the algorithm and how effective they'll be and whatnot. And with Roblox changing how marketing really works on Roblox, it created tons of problems, and they weren't really effective enough to be worth running because it's good for a group to make money. It's another for it to recuperate on what you're running. So if it's not making that balance enough to be worth running, then it's not going to help the group's activity or even its revenue. positions. So ads were kind of hoping to be waited for as we got phases out, but since we had to cycle through so many developers, that plan kind of flopped on itself. So we're trying now just to see if we can make ads work.
Yeah, I hope that the ads will help the game because current state of activity is not the best. It was much better before.
Mhm.
But yeah. Another question. Do you truly care about HRE? Some of the people might think that you don't really care about HRE because you didn't have made a lot of things. But tell us your true emotions about HRE. What do you really think about it?
I mean, as I said about before, I do like this community, and I personally think if I didn't like it, I've had like several offers on this group that I could have taken and ran that were triple or quadruple what it has earned or what could earn or whatnot. But I do like this community. I think it has potential, which is one of the reasons why I bought it was to invest in that potential. But yeah, I don't know. It's really hard to convey or persuade someone else's opinion on what they think someone does or doesn't like. It's more, I don't know, I personally just don't see the reason as to why I wouldn't like it because I wouldn't own it, but it's just my opinion on it. I do like the community though. That is a
Yeah,
major reason for why I stick around.
that makes sense. Why would you keep the group if you wouldn't like it?
Hmm.
Yeah. So, another question, which is, will you put more developers into HRE to increase updates? You kind of answered
Well,
that before.
yeah, like we've been looking. It's not exactly easy to find developers nowadays. It's very complicated and very hard, and I have been looking. But we're hoping as more come in and we're interviewing more people that we'll be able to get a few extra programmers and maybe a modeler or two just to help out finish the massive update we want to get out.
Well, a lot of people in the chat are talking about Turbo, and I think that you could tell us your opinion about his ban.
Um, mm, I think I'm going to abstain from commenting on that.
Okay, yeah, that's okay. You don't have to answer every question. Well, another question which we prepared is, what is your favorite duchy in HRE?
I've been asked this before a lot. I don't particularly have a favorite. I like all the duchies. I think they're all unique in their own way, and I have visited them all before. I think for the most part, I've joined calls and engaged with some of the duchies. So, I mean, I don't particularly have a favorite. I personally like Imperial Guard because it keeps me safe, but in terms of duchies, I'm not entirely sure. I don't really have a particular favorite one.
Okay. Well, have you ever served in the Imperial Army before becoming the Emperor?
Uh, I did. I didn't necessarily serve when I had first bought the group because I wasn't too knowledgeable on it. I did go on an alt account and play for a couple of weeks just to get a feel for the game. And I do from time to time go on an alt and play the game because it's not exactly well, it is fun to play on the account of being the emperor and having being guard and whatnot, but it's fun just to mess around on an alt.
A lot of people thought that you didn't even play the game before, and you
No, I
bought the
played the
game
game.
just for the money.
No.
Okay. Well, what are your plans for future development of the map and for the game overall? And will they become a reality, if possible?
Well, the phase, everything in the phases is my goal right now to get out. I'd really like to incorporate things for the duchies and better proper spawns for Imperials and adding more things like quests and a market system and the bank, which Ken has been working on. Like, there's lots of things I'd like to do, but I'm currently restricted on the fact of developers are very scarce right now. Once again, it's just incredibly hard to come by the right people who have the good work ethic to produce the results that you want. So
Yeah. Well, why is it so hard to find developers for you?
I'm not entirely sure. I do search most of the platforms. It's because it might just be me because I have a certain standard I'd like to have when I look at how I want my games to look and perform and whatever. But um, I think it's just the standard I want to have, and I like to find devs who have a good work ethic, which is kind of hard because some developers like to work at last minute and whatnot, which I personally find doesn't work for me. I like to have a consistent progress so I can actually show something to the community. But yeah, I think it just boils down to like work ethics and like skill and just my personal standards.
Okay. So, can we please get benefits for content creators? Maybe a custom role or shoutouts. A lot of people are doing some content on HRE, and maybe they should get some kind of a reward for that if they get a lot of views and made the game more popular.
Yeah, we could work towards a creator program. I think that would be nice. I do watch HRE videos from time to time when they're made. They're very funny to watch.
Well, Viking Love planned making the content creator program, but they haven't made it before selling it. So it would be nice if it would be added. Well, another question, and that's a really long question. So, what exactly are you struggling with when it comes to finding appropriate developers, and why is it taking so long? How come this UI update you promised over a year ago, and according to you at one point was 80% complete, hasn't seen the light of day?
Well, as I had said before, developers and standards play a big factor into that. I have the user interface done. It's the issue of finding a proper programmer who can code it all and implement it. And there were several factors which went into the delay of that. And overall, it's just part of me not keeping on devs and parts of the fault of devs who have come and go. Overall, I found that development is never really predictable at best of times. And it's been a real hassle for all my projects in particular to really get good results from a proper development team. So I'm hoping with the now new coming developers we've been hiring that will eventually change and get HRE some proper updates out.
Yeah, a lot of people are waiting for the updates, so I hope
Hmm.
that they will be released as soon as possible. Well, another question. What are your plans/goals to help improve the activity within the Kingdom of France due to its several lack of members and overall activity?
Well, my goal is first to fix HRE's activity, of course, but I'm hoping by improving on HRE's activity, I'd like to eventually then switch over to, I've added in the Duchy reward system there as well, and I'm hoping once HRE is in a much better position, then I can start slowly advertising the Kingdom of France and eventually getting content for them going properly so that it'll improve on their own activity.
Yeah, HRE should be the main goal for now, for sure. Well, what is your opinion on Viking Love? It was asked by someone anonymous that didn't said its name in the Google Forms.
He's a very chill person. I like him. He's funny, and from our few conversations we've had, uh, yeah, I like his YouTube content too. I watch that from time to time. It's funny.
Well, what do you think about the prices of Game Pass that Viking Love made? Don't you think that they are a little bit too expensive?
Well, in my personal opinion, when I first bought the group, I thought they were expensive. However, at the same time, it's hard to reduce the prices of them because when they're set at a price, it creates the exclusivity of them. And if you lower them and more people start acquiring them, it upsets the people who already have. the Game Pass who have already paid so much for it and then you're reducing it, so it kind of removes that exclusivity behind. So I don't think I'd ever change them. I would incorporate maybe a few more sales, as I had said previously, but I don't think I would adjust them. And I think he sets them at that rate because he wants them to be more of an exclusive thing rather than everyone can purchase them. We're hoping to incorporate some more Game Passes that are more just most people can afford to get them, but that'll have to come in the works of the updates.
Yeah, that makes sense. I hope that the Game Pass will, the future Game Pass will be a little bit cheaper than the current one,
Mhm.
so more people could afford them. Uh, Maybe you could tell us something about the Game Pass that you are planning to add.
I mean, if you looked at, I think the development board got released by Ken, so you could see under the new Game Passes, we're planning to add a Viking Raider, a merchant for the merchant system. I believe we're going to release the Baron class. We haven't decided yet. We're going to release ships, and then for the church releasing as well, we'll have a priest Game Pass to go with it.
Okay. Well, as you guys can hear, we'll get some new Game Passes, which will be cheaper, so that would be great. Okay. Another question. Do you see a bright future for HRE?
I do, and I've been talking with the holding company, Multiple Studios, about this for a while now. And I think our main goal is to see HRE have 400 or 500 players and everyone enjoying the content. We would like to do more to it, and we are slowly starting to get more done. So I do see a bright future for the group.
Okay. Uh, have you ever thought about selling HRE?
Um, we considered it at one point. It was just because someone had given a very generous offer for it, and we've received several generous offers and always looked and considered them, but no offer, in our opinion, compared to what the community has given us and has to offer and the potential of the group has really been worth selling it. I do like this group, and I've had really no reason to sell it, so
Okay.
I don't think we'd ever sell it in the near future either.
Yeah, good to know. I hope that you guys stay here and make the group better without selling it. And here we have a last question of this podcast, which is, what is the hardest task that you have to do as an owner?
Mm, I think the hardest task is really balancing all of your communities. When you have so many, you want to make sure everyone gets to say hello and gets to make sure that they feel appreciated because they're spending all their time and hard work on the group. It's nice to have owners who care, and I can appreciate when people get upset for lack of activity from an owner, and I apologize on my behalf for that. I do understand everyone's hard work that's gone into this, and it validates to have an owner who cares and appreciates it. So,
Okay. So since it was a last question, I'll give 1 minute to our live stream chat so they could ask some questions on the chat. And if there will be any interesting questions, then I'll ask them to you. So yeah, chat.
okay.
If you have any interesting questions, tell them now.
I have a question.
What is it?
Caleb, when are you going
Mhm.
to do a sale for Game
Uh,
Pass?
as I as I said, it'll be for probably major holidays and events, and I'll probably do up a schedule for when we'll do a more official sales for the group and game, so people can be aware for them.
Okay. I found some interesting question. What do you think about the future for United Factions? Because it's kinda dead right now.
With the update coming for UIs, the faction get a massive overhaul in terms of getting medals and proper regiments and whatnot. So I think United Factions is going to get a lot more active by that. And when staff can hand out rewards for those active factions and whatnot, it'll really, I think, help improve on. the
Yeah.
activity for United Factions.
Okay. People are asking a lot of questions that were answered already. So. And a lot of troll questions. Lol. Uh, so I think that will be ending now, since I can see any interesting questions here. So, okay, guys, thank you for watching, and thank you, Caleb, for attending this podcast and answering all of these questions. I hope that everyone are everyone is happy with the answers and satisfied. So thank you everyone for watching, and I hope that on the next podcast we will also get someone cool, someone which will be a good person to ask them some questions. So thank you for watching and goodbye.